Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 450 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada, recorded May 26th, 2025.
450. That's a good caliber. I like that one.
Yeah.
Well, we need your help. To support the Canadian Patriot Podcast, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
And yes, 450 is a wonderful caliber, especially in that crazy pistol caliber.
Gasul, right?
Yeah.
Or is that 454? I can't remember.
No, I think it's 450, although there might be a 454 as well. Yes, 450 casual would sound better though, even though there's nothing
Nothing,
casual about
nothing
it.
casual shooting it. No.
No, I actually have a buddy of mine in Utah that has one. And we haven't shot it, but I got to hold it. Nice shiny revolver. Oh, it's fucking amazing. Anyways, all of this brings us to our favorite segment of the show. What are we drinking? Ian, what are you
Well,
drinking? And or something you've done off the Patriot Challenge?
let's see here. Taking advantage of one of my souvenirs from Japan, so I'm cracking open my bottle of it's about 30%. Uh, kind of like sake, like but extra distilled, so it's like stronger stuff. It's called Kuma Shochu, which basically just means bear whiskey in Japanese. Straight on ice, and yeah, no, it's really good. It's tasty, clear, not much of a hangover.
Nice.
Let's see here. As far as Patriot Challenge, lots of water, of course. Been doing my best to do my walks every day. Uh, Actually skills practicing, more firearms refinishing, a little bit of reloading, and let's see here, what else? Been reading actually a heck of a lot lately.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anything good? Or
No,
just like
actually just play catch up. I never read the Handful of Hard Men like you guys did.
it is
Um,
like those guys are just in yeah, there's
it
hard. Like there's no
yeah,
other way to like describe it.
and that also explains why I was sending you links about
Yeah.
Rhodesia to you
Yeah.
guys, like because I was just like, the more you read about it, just the more mind blowing it gets, right? And you're just like, yeah, they didn't actually lose any battles.
Yeah.
They just lost the war. Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
how does that
Like
happen?
yeah. Well, what happens is that they started listening to politicians and capitulated.
Yeah, well, and yeah, and other countries cucked as well, so it just didn't matter.
Yeah.
So anyway, but moving along. Yourself.
Um I'm kind of being lame tonight and just drinking Gatorade. I've got some stuff I got to get done earlier in the morning tomorrow and yeah.
It's like role reversal here, like not
Yeah, I
like
know. Yeah. Yeah. At least I'm not playing taxi, but that's okay.
that's fair.
Yeah. Patriot Challenge, yeah, drinking my water, staying on top of that and supplementing every now and again with some electrolyte powder to, keep getting all those delicious electrolytes. It's better than doing cucumber water, which is just weird. Um,
Got what plants crave.
yeah. Then Patriot Challenge stuff. On top of that, doing my reading, I've done a bunch of oh, what's his name? Vince Flynn books.
Oh, okay.
I did one of his a while ago. I think I recommended it to some people and probably mentioned it on here. Not Terminal List, Term Limits. Term Limits, that's the one. Which is a fucking phenomenal book. But he's got another series about like a CIA operative, so I'm reading those. I'm, 3 or 4 books into the series, so they're pretty entertaining. I mean, like any other spy novel, there's a lot of far-fetchedness to it, but
It's nice when they're timely though, and like they're up to date on the tech and stuff. Because like Tom Clancy, well, fantastic writer and fantastic
yeah,
novels. Now you read them and you're like, it's a little dated. It's
yeah. Why is he holding a giant flashlight in his mouth when like they've got little LED things that he could just yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Talk
For
about
his
flip phones even mentioning a flip phone in there is like, oh, you know.
well, yeah, and in this one, like they actually even reference some of that like stuff where it's like so right now, like a bunch of terrorists have taken over the White House, right? And so they send somebody in through a vent, and like the terrorists are running a jammer, so their digital radios aren't working. And they're like, if only they had just run a line like they did in the military, but with all this new high-tech gear, this low-tech solution, evaded them. So they talk about like how people have gone too high tech, it seems, and sometimes, yeah, the low tech option of literally just running a cable that you can't block with a phone on either end would solve their problem. Anyways, a great book. The series is pretty good. They're entertaining. Uh, was running the range up at the base, doing some rifle shooting and some pistol shooting over the weekend. So practicing some skills, which is good. And we will be up there for our first trailer weekend of the
Excellent.
year next week. So lots of fun things going on. So you too can participate and grab the Patriot Challenge template from our website and post it to your social medias. So like go do that, like tag, CSIS, the RCMP, your local police detachment, brag, show them what you're doing, all that fun stuff. Because if it didn't happen on the internet, did it happen at all?
Well, and if it gives them more stuff that they have to read, so you might as well like tie up their
Exactly,
resources a bit.
right?
So
Yeah. Speaking of reading and news, King Chuckles and Queen Camilla arrived today.
is she really a queen?
I mean,
She's a
she's no
royal
Freddie
consort.
Mercury.
No, but
Yeah.
she's a royal consort, I think,
Yes.
which
A
is like
fancy
fancy
way of saying
for
King's
saying.
whore.
I was gonna say side piece, but yeah, okay, that works too.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, I will recap the visit so far. Charles met in private with Prime Minister Mark Carney, the Governor General Mary Simon, and Indigenous leaders at Rideau Hall this afternoon. He and Queen Camilla took part in a tree planting ceremony where the swearing in of Camilla as the member of the King's Privy Council in Canada is taking place. They also went to Lansdowne Park, where they took part in a street hockey puck drop and met food vendors amid a crowd of hundreds. Um, Tomorrow, he will deliver the throne speech in the Senate chamber to launch our 45th Parliament. And apparently, this visit aims to underscore Canadian sovereignty amid tensions with US President Donald Trump. So, yes, nothing like asserting our sovereignty by having a monarch from another country come to visit and do the throne speech, reminding everyone that we are not actually entirely a
Sovereign.
sovereign nation and that we have a monarch that lives in another country that is technically our head of state.
It doesn't exactly project strength when he looks like he's clearly suffering from cancer and other stuff too, right? I mean,
Yes.
they already say he's ailing, so that's a good sign. He's probably on his way out as we speak. But anyway, imagine waiting around to get a job for 60 years, and when you finally get the promotion, you only get it for a couple of years, and then you start to die off.
Yeah. And you have to go to Canada to sort.
Yeah, I have multiple issues with this. The throne speech would be one thing. But I was just saying to the wife actually. I was like, can you imagine right now? I'm not saying it's likely to happen or it's going to happen, but you imagine if Carney had already struck some sort of deal to become part of the EU or part of the States or whatever, and Chuck was just here to announce it, and all these people have been like beating their chest for Carney and the King and stuff, and he also drops some massive bomb tomorrow that nobody was expecting. Be great,
Yeah.
but yeah. Anyways, I have a feeling it'll be very dry and boring. I'm not going to dedicate any of my time to watching it, and I'm sure I'll settle up for the Coles Notes later on. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's some things that need to happen according to this one article. I know one of them has already happened, and we'll get to that. But the election of the Speaker of the House needs to happen. Um, so there's some things that are going to go on there, and everyone remembers that there was the the guy that brought the Nazi to Parliament, and then there was the other guy that was supposed to be partisan but then wasn't. So now they've got a new one. There's some talk about maybe it being the opposition, so like a conservative speaker, because you don't have to elect someone from the Liberal Party. You can elect anyone from any party. So there was some talk about that, especially with the gap between, the liberals and the conservatives being narrower, right? Because when you vote in the speaker, they're not supposed to vote on things
hmm
because they're bipartisan.
I was really hoping it would have been Elizabeth May just for the entertainment value.
Yes, that would have been phenomenal. Yeah. But yes, the monarch will read the throne speech, which is apparently just the third time in our history that this has happened. Uh, Charles's mother has done that twice before, back in like the 50s and then the 70s or something like that. Um, and traditionally, apparently, there's a when they do all of this, there is a knock at the door where the usher arrives and, tells everyone that the governor general desires their presence for the throne speech, and then they all go over from the House to the Senate. Except that this time it won't be the governor general, it'll be the king. And then all of the MPs will go over to the Senate where like they're allowed into the Senate, but not past the brass bar. Because it's a symbolic separation of the two houses of government, even though the one elects the ones that go into the other one and they have to declare their party affiliation or lack thereof or lie about it, especially those independents that are not really independent.
And the fact that one party's contributed to about 85% of the sitting
Yeah.
senators right now.
But aside from that, there's supposed to be a separation between the two. And then the senators are not allowed into the House of Commons. So that's the separation of the thing. Except the prime minister apparently is the only one that is allowed to actually go into the Senate because, generally he delivers, well, or she, in the case of Kim Campbell, delivers the throne speech and all of that fun stuff. So there will definitely be some changes that happen tomorrow. But yes, the speaker.
Yeah.
So they have elected, although I guess it looks like they're kind of standing him up here. Um, Francis Scarpaleggia. I think he's some sort of Italian.
Sounds like an Italian name.
Yeah. But yes, a liberal MP has become the Speaker of the House. He is from the Quebec riding of Lac Saint Louis or Louis. Louis. That's the one. There's no E.
So when they elect the speaker, don't they drag him to the chair or something like that?
Yeah, that's what it looks like in this thing is that they're doing that. So there's
No.
Carney and interim opposition leader Andrew Scheer are kind of got him under the arms and are walking him to the speaker's chair.
No, well, I fully admit that or agree that, anybody that wants the job shouldn't have it as far as being an MP or the speaker or anything else. But
Yeah, it's a little odd
I
that symbolically they drag him to the chair.
But yeah, like first of all, they act all buddy buddy, like the prime minister and the leader of the opposition act all buddy buddy, dragging
Yeah,
this guy to the chair for this ceremony and stuff. I'm sorry, but like I wouldn't even be participating in that sort of stuff. Like that's just tomfoolery as far as I'm concerned. But also,
yeah,
um, yeah, like why are you like if you're putting a liberal on the chair, no matter if he's supposed to be bipartisan or not, I wouldn't participate in that if I was the opposition. There's no way. But
yeah. The whole like they should. The weird part is that they have to elect somebody that is like a sitting MP to do it. Like if they were to elect somebody that is no longer a sitting MP, then it would be like, okay, I'm more inclined to believe that they are bipartisan because they are not currently sitting on one side or the other of the government. Or if there was like okay, you can pick anyone that is not part of the minority or majority government. It must be someone that is the official opposition or other, right? Like it can't be the ruling party. It has to be one of the other schmucks. Like,
yeah, because I mean, it's just so patently obvious that they show favoritism towards
yeah,
commentary, question period. They go easy on their own party, and they censure the other party very, I guess flippantly, should we say? And it's I don't know. I think the whole thing's gone downhill. It should be you should actually have like an election for Speaker of the House or something like that, just to make it interesting.
yeah,
Get Joe the plumber in there or something, like
yeah. I mean, I do feel kind of bad for these guys because like somehow they have to know everybody's name and do all of that like administrative stuff when they're speaking, and like that's got to be a hell of a job. Like just like
Well, I think under Robert's rules, with the whole meeting thing, the person that wants to speak next puts up their hand, everything. The page is going to write down who it is, and he probably has a cheat sheet written from and says, the member for Carlton West or whatever, right?
yeah, but yeah,
I mean,
I certainly wouldn't want like any of that. That sounds like a whole lot of like work, but
yeah,
not doing anything fun.
and you have to sit through question period every time, so that means that can't be fun either. Because I mean, it's bad enough when you have to watch like 30-second video clips of it. So
Yeah. Yes, no, there was some talk about, these, other people going like Elizabeth May and some conservatives and all of the things. And then like the way that the works is that it's a secret ranked ballot. So if there isn't a majority winner in the first round, they drop the loser's name and then redistribute those votes. And then it keeps going until somebody gets a majority. So, and it's not necessarily the most liked person that will win in that kind of a thing. It's the least disliked person that will win. But here we are. We have a new speaker who has asked for a little grace period as Parliament opens after being closed for 6 months, while
yeah,
all of these crises are happening.
critical time for Canada. Relationship with the U.S. is over, but let's just go back to work for like 3 weeks, then takes the rest of the summer off or whatever. Um,
Well, I mean, you don't want to break with tradition by not having a summer holiday.
but is it not up to the Prime Minister or something like that, or the Governor General that can just say no? We're actually sitting right through no summer vacation this time, and can they not adjust the schedule?
Yeah, they totally could.
But
I
they just
mean,
don't
and
want
even
to.
if that's that, they could, in worst case, they would just have to vote on it like they do for their raises and all of the other perks that they get, right? Like that, for example, a perk that like the Speaker of the House gets, like his own apartment and stuff like that. You know,
Yeah. Anyway,
some, I don't know. I guess I'm still torn, but not. Like I think it's a good thing, but also I can see how it could bite us in the ass. Some things that have come out of this. The NDP will not be granted official party status.
yeah. Now I had this discussion with the wife as well. The official party status doesn't actually have a like a hard number to gain it. I thought it was more of a traditional thing. It was 12 seats or something like that.
I think it used to be, or there was a number attached to it. Yes, at one
But
point, but
I mean, when you're a minivan party, just like the old Ontario minivan party there, that when Wynn and crew got kicked out, this is down to
yeah,
what, 7 people?
yes,
I'm still shocked that my riding is one of them, but yeah, and he, even though he's the fourth term MP or something like that, he didn't even make the cut, which makes me giggle for being party leader, but which shows you how bad he is. But anyway, uh, yeah, quick question on that one. So, not party status, so they're going to have less funding for
yeah,
next election, less funding for advertisements, I do believe, right?
yeah.
And what does it do in the parliament now?
Well, so they will not be allowed to ask daily questions in question period.
Ooh.
They will not be guaranteed seats on standing committees. That's about it.
But Elizabeth May has party status,
Yeah, well, I mean,
and they have 1 seat. So,
yeah,
but
but she's like the life of the party, yo.
oh yeah, I guess she certainly is. But I don't think she has a
Who
seat.
else is
It's
going to
somebody else.
drunkenly remind everyone about like reconciliation and land acknowledgements and all of that?
Well, it'd be more fun if she'd recommend, remind everybody of Pizzagate or something. But
Yes.
and anyway, uh, on the chat there, one of our other guys there mentioned today that it's actually a bad thing though because as they get less and less votes and less seats, that's actually taking care of their vote splitting issue. So that's gonna make it harder
Yeah,
for the right side of the
although
equation to get
d
a
does it
majority, right?
really though? Like, do they ever really split the vote? Because I mean, like a lot of people are happy to vote for either or.
Yeah, but by the same token, though, even a minority conservative government would be more possible if there was a vote split because the NDP would take a few more seats than the Liberals, right?
Yes, but if they take a seat away from the conservatives, because that's what they'll do, is that like if it's going to be a close race, they will vote for the one that wins so that they win over the conservatives. That's always been their strategy.
Hmm.
So like, is it really vote splitting when it doesn't really hurt you? You know, like it is vote splitting because it's two parties on the left, but the way that they strategically vote, it more often than not ends up fucking over the conservative vote because it's like, well, conservatives would have won if people voted for who they wanted to vote for, but they're willing to vote for the other one just to fuck over the vote. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, really, we've only got a two-party system anyways, because like at best the NDP, like what was it, 20 seats or something in the last go around, and now they're down to seven. Like that's not like the fucking block that only runs in one province does better than that.
Well, I'd say we're certainly edging more towards a two-party system for sure.
Yeah.
The problem asks, what do you mean no vacation? They only make $250,000 a year. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, first of all, they need to do their second job during the summer because they're going to work a second job to make ends meet, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
who can live off of that?
we don't want to take that away from them. So,
No, certainly wouldn't want to do that. But yeah, I mean, and I was talking with my other half here in the car. Um, this whole funding thing, like I, I think it's unfair that any party gets any funding from the government. Like your party should be entirely funded by your party members.
yeah, stop being a shitty politician. Do things that people actually like, and maybe you'll get more donations.
Yeah,
So,
like because it's not fair. Like once you become big enough to become an official party, you become too big to fail, and they keep giving you money. And then
so funny story about fundraising and getting money from the parties. So, I got a call from a local conservative party member. And during the election, he phoned me and said, "Listen, like we're hoping for $100 pledge off you." I said, "Well, stop doing shitty decisions. Like start doing some great, better policy decisions. Get elected, and if you change things for the better, every time you pass a law that I agree with, I'll donate $1,000." And and they're like, "Oh, well, that's a lot." I was like, "Well, no, seriously. If you guys actually do proper decision making and proper passing of laws, and you get elected, I will definitely hand you money." I said, "But I'm not giving you anything right now because so far the only thing that happens is status quo, or worse. And you guys promise the world, get elected, and then nothing happens." I said, and they're like, "Well, can we at least get you for $100?" I said, "If you get elected, I'll give you $100, but I don't need you guys to remind me to do it. I'll just do it on my own." And so, anyways, but 6 weeks later, they phoned me up here after the election now, and they're like, "Well, you made a pledge for $100. You have an unpaid bill."
what?
And I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, you have an unpaid bill in arrears for $100 pledge." I'm like, "Excuse me?" And they actually tried to sound like a collection agency for the Conservative Party because in their mind I had pledged $100. I was like, "No, no, no, no." I said, "If you get elected, I'll give you $100." I said, "I don't need your help. I could do it on my own. I can just go to the website and just donate. I don't
Yeah,
need a form sent to me, or I don't need anything else. I'm not gonna make a pledge. I'll do it on my own."
yeah.
But they're like, "Yeah, but that's the unpaid bill." And I was like, um, I didn't know what to say. I was so angry at that point. And it's
So
so,
I don't recall going to a restaurant and ordering something and not paying it. So
yeah,
like,
I was like, "So you're making me sound like a deadbeat, like, like a bill payer here." And I said, like, "I made no such promise. You guys just, kind of worded it like that. And I just
yeah,
kind of shrugged you off. But I was like, you can't actually tell me that this is an unpaid bill." And they're like, and he was basically putting a high pressure tactic on. And I was like, wow, like, are you guys that hungry for money? Because they shouldn't be. Because they should
yeah,
have done well enough that they get some money from Elections Canada, which again I disagree with.
yeah.
But I was like blown away by like they're actually becoming almost like a collection agency mafia style stuff. I was like surprised they didn't send people to my house.
Well, maybe they will. They're gonna break your thumbs or something.
It's like you have to break your knees in advance. You got
It's
bad
like I
credit,
don't seem to recall signing any sort of legal document that said that I would do this.
or getting any goods or services in exchange.
Yeah,
And I was like, so far, your service that what you're supposed to render was get elected. You didn't do that, so I don't owe you anything.
yeah, yeah.
And
If this was a legally binding agreement, you haven't lived up to your side. So
and he literally said to me, "I will take your Visa number now, so you can get your $75 back in taxes." I was like, No.
No.
And,
How
ju-
about
and just
no?
and just for that one phone call, I guarantee you, I probably will never make another political donation ever again, like to any party. I was
Yeah,
just like, wow, that was just over the top. So
that is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I mean, I've definitely been getting emails like asking for money like all through the election, which is understandable, right? Like it's not cheap to fly everyone around to do all the rallies and all of that. Um, you know, NDP was so hard up they had to start putting shit on OnlyFans or something. And that even that was enough. He only had a bus. It was the NDP Orange Bang bus, but like yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, I don't think any of these guys should be getting government money. Like it's already bad enough when it's like the sitting government like gets to fly around and start campaigning like in advance using your tax dollars and stuff like that. And
and
like we're
using
paying for like the
military
security
jets to
detail and all of that. Like,
yeah.
but like it's hard when it's like, okay, but like he is technically the current prime minister until he is not. So yeah, we've got to do all of this stuff. But yeah, if your party is shit, you get no money. Get your donors to give you money because like it's not fair that the new guys or the small guys that are trying to do something and make some change to be like, we don't have money. Can we get some money too? And they're like, no, 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 you're not big enough yet. Well, how do you get big enough without the funding? So yeah, I don't like it, but
No,
I'm
not at all.
glad that they've lost party status. It's a petty thing, and I know it may not be the greatest for us, but also, like I said, because of how people vote strategically, I don't really think it splits the vote all that much and works in our favor.
And the good news is, by having one less party, it should make question period shorter.
It should, but what's going to really make it shorter is that apparently Carney won't continue with question period tradition that Trudeau began. I guess he's trying to show everyone that he's not Trudeau.
Well, they should have called it answer period to begin with because people ask
Yeah.
questions but nothing ever got answered. So
Yeah. Yes, well, maybe the new Italian Speaker of the House will have some sort of, inner mafioso that will get some questions answered.
yeah, so that was once a week, wasn't it? Like he allowed question period or whatever. But now
Yeah.
Carney just doesn't want to be questioned at all. He does not like criticism. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, to the point where like he hasn't even presented the budget for critique.
Well, yeah, because it's much easier to just spend money willy nilly and grant contracts to your wife and stuff without a budget, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if there's no guardrails, you can't smash through the guardrails.
That's right. Yeah, supposedly, the company that employs Carney's wife, I can't remember the name of it, but anyways, it just got another big government contract like in the last couple days. I'm like, well, that's
Weird.
handy.
Super
Anyway,
weird.
I'm sure we'll pick
Oh.
up that article by next week. But
Yeah. Well, the other kind of interesting thing with all of this, and I didn't put it in here, but speaking of Carney and his shitty behavior and all of that, so the whole tariff thing, that was his platform, right?
yeah,
Like basically was we need to stand up to Donald Trump to the point where like Charles is coming here to, assert our sovereignty on our behalf to stand up to Trump. And so in the debates, he talked about this, and his strategy was that we are going to be tough and we are going to use counter tariffs as a way to stand up to Donald Trump and stick it to Orange Man because Orange Man bad.
and I do believe that the exact moment he said that, he'd already repealed them, had he not?
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. Yeah, the day previous, he dropped all of those without telling anyone, and then gets up on stage and tells everyone that that's how we're going to fight this. That's super weird.
It's almost like the whole thing was a sham.
Almost exactly like that. Like, I can't quite prove it, but
I'd say right around the time when Donald Trump said that he's pretty sure that Polyev hated him more than Carney did.
Yeah.
And they were all buddy buddy at the White House. I'm like, yeah, if people don't know they've been played by now, I don't think they ever will.
No, and sadly they won't. But like that should be the thing right there that shows everyone more so than anything else that this was a giant scam. Like, how do you get up there and just like boldly lie like that, knowing that you literally like 24 hours or less before that statement had canceled all the tariffs?
It takes a special kind of sociopath, doesn't it?
Yeah. That or maybe he's more like Joe Biden and just has no idea what's going on.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think he's actually got dementia. Which it turns out Joe Biden had dementia. I don't know if you knew that, but the CNN host didn't even notice until now. But it turns out that's actually was a conspiracy theory that came true. Look at that.
Weird.
Must be the first one.
Yeah, the first one today, anyways. Yeah, just like all
Yeah.
these conspiracy theories about, Carney and Trump and being friends and the fact that like, Carney and Trump's kid have had dinner a bunch of times and everything else. But like whatever, that's totally just a conspiracy theory. And you know, don't look at the man behind the curtain or anything. Um, Canada Post. I was trying to find that article that the title was like Canada Post essentially bankrupt, and it seems to have already been memory hold.
Yeah, because I think essentially it was just a bad use of the word. It was they are bankrupt.
Yeah, that
I
is
mean,
using too many words to describe something. It is, yeah.
because let's face it, when was the last time they actually turned a profit? And I mean, if you ran your business with the same success level as Canada Post, you wouldn't be in business anymore.
Yeah. But there's an article here in the Financial Post about Canada Post isn't the only federal institution in need of an overhaul. So yes, Canada Post desperately, desperately, desperately in need of this. They also are listing the CBC, the RCMP, and the Coast Guard. So there's one on the radar that we have not talked about being overhauled in the past, but
Yeah,
everything else.
it's interesting because the Coast Guard, I would actually argue that they're underfunded, but
Yeah.
okay,
So
because
yes,
like
overhaul, yes, is a good thing, but yeah, by funding them better.
yeah, because I mean honestly, like as far as like their mandate goes to like enforce fishing rights,
Yeah.
compliance of foreign vessels, environmental protection, border security, all this. They got a lot of shit to do, and they are grossly underfunded, more so than the military, to the point where
Yeah.
it's almost like a laughing stock out here on the West Coast. And I think they have one ship and one airplane that's a contracted out airplane. It's not even theirs, and that's it for the entire West Coast. I'm like, they have a hovercraft that doesn't do anything, that just sits around and doesn't do a whole lot. But uh, yeah, like we get the RCMP is like
Yeah.
a mess and CBC's a mess clearly, but yeah, I was so shocked to see the Coast Guard in there.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, maybe not for the same reasons, but I agree with everything on this list and it needing an overhaul. By overhaul, though, like that can be just totally dismantling it, right?
Yeah, no, I think at some time, well, the CBC again,
Yeah.
if they can't turn a profit based on their programming, they need to change their programming. They shouldn't have to rely and become basically state-funded media, and basically toe the company line in order to make ends meet, basically. So, like, if they had any sort of journalistic integrity, I know, bit of a joke, but if they did, they would turn down the government funding, attract enough out of an audience to actually turn a profit and sell their ad time and for proper amounts of revenue. But they've sunk into this government employee like sinkhole where they just figure it's just easier to keep on putting out shitty programming and shitty news reporting and just rely on the government to bail them out every year.
Yeah.
And I mean, we all know the CBC CEO job is like a sinecure from, basically a government patronage appointment, right? So
Well, yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah, at this point, also, like, we may as well just disband the RCMP, the CBC, and Canada Post. Like,
well, okay, so like with the Canadian military, remember they merged them all up and they had the Canadian
yeah,
forces, right? And after about 30 years, they realized that was a really dumb move. Let's put them back to individual stuff. So the Royal Canadian Air Force, the Royal Canadian Navy, and like have like separate
yeah,
operating systems again, right? So, back in the day, BC had its own mounted policemen. Alberta had its own
Yeah.
police force. Everything else was for a while. The Northwest Mounted Police came in. Then the provincial police departments took over. Then they decided to lump them all into the RCMP. Well, I think that's just become too big to handle for them as far as efficiency and you know, I
Yep.
should say legitimately, but also I was going to say ethically. I think they should actually go back to provincial focused police departments like
Right.
Quebec because they're able to serve the market a little better because they have a more local knowledge and stuff like that. Because like right now, the RCMP is just dropping the ball pretty much everywhere except for trying to get people to do straw purchases. They're very good at that.
Yes. That's where they put all their resources because I guess there's some sort of mandate to go after law-abiding gun owners.
Yeah, clearly.
But yeah, I mean, and I think we do need a federal police force to enforce federal rules and things like that, or to help out like when there's some jurisdiction issues or whatever. But it could be done by a much smaller, more focused group that deals only with that, and there's no dealing with the provincial policing of places and stuff like no, just they need to get their own provincial police force. I'm sorry, Alberta, Manitoba, or anywhere else that uses the RCMP. You have to figure out your own shit.
Yeah,
The
because I mean, like,
federal, yeah, the federal police deal with federal issues, not provincial or municipal. It's not their gig.
yeah, like federales should not be doing like I get for the revenue generation. That's why they do it. But
Yeah,
the federales should not be doing traffic work. They should not be doing anything like that. But like commercial crime that crosses borders, absolutely. Child endangerment, like child
yeah,
exploitation, sure, why not? And any sort of foreign influence, absolutely,
yeah.
yes. But why are they doing, car thefts, break and enters, everything else? Like, why are the federal police dealing with that? That should be a local matter.
Yeah,
And again, if we had locally elected sheriffs, I think you'd have a lot better community policing.
I don't like. I think if we moved a lot of things to being more locally managed, they would be a lot better.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to have like vote on everything like in the States where you vote on like the coroner and like all of this other shit too that like it's like really like but again, if it's a job that is paid by the people's taxes, they should probably have a say in who runs those departments. So I get it. But yeah,
Yeah.
disband them all. Just get rid of every single one of them. Just get rid of them.
Sometimes a reset's what you need.
Yeah. But yeah, start giving more money to the Coast Guard. They could really use it. I mean, I know like a lot of services like to make fun of them and all of that, and that's fair. But also they do a lot.
Yeah. Actually, they're tasked with more than they can do. That's the worst part.
Well, yeah, and especially like, we've talked about it kind of and joked about it today, but like one of the ways that we could enforce our sovereignty is by actually patrolling our borders. And like CBSA ain't going up to the Arctic to go and do that.
Nope.
But you know who will? The Coast Guard.
Yes, they will.
So like, yeah, we need to get them the things to be able to do that, and then we can go and swap the bottle of whiskey for the bottle of vodka or whatever it is that we do on that island that's sort of like owned by us but owned by Greenland, and we keep fighting over it.
Well, now it's been split in half officially. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes, I know, and that's sad that we don't do that anymore. But yes, like, but there's people that were going there, and
Yep.
it wasn't CBSA. They were not enforcing our borders. They are far too busy trying to stop pocket knives that are legal in this country from getting into this country, and that's about it.
And revenue generation. They're glorified cashiers is all they are. Because they're just trying
Yeah,
to ding people for having been gone less than 48 hours of bringing a bottle back and whatever. Like I was watching a couple videos today about they were more concerned with a person transiting through to Alaska than they
yeah,
were about anything else of like, okay, you know who this person is, you know what they've got, the whole works. And they're more concerned with her having like a taser on her than anything else. So I was like, you know what? We can like you and I could transit through without any permits, bring firearms right through the states if we're taking a shortcut, as long as we don't plan on staying in the states.
yep,
And yet, a person's going from Washington State to Alaska, and they treat them like, ISIS. And I was like, come on, like just give them a custom seal for like a toolbox that has their guns in it and let them just drive right through. Like, and then just make sure the custom seal's intact when they get there. Like, just it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Well, some things that like, if we did have proper federal policing, maybe something that they could do is track down some people like one of Canada's most wanted here, a Saeed Osman, who has been charged with first degree murder in Edmonton
again,
again. So he's got a Canada-wide warrant for a mass shooting in 2022 and has been charged in the fatal 2020 shooting. So clearly, like, Canada-wide warrants. So yes, if there's Canada-wide warrants, then there should be some federal police that this is what they deal with. But yeah, like, this is just ridiculous that like we have these people and they're not getting caught, or if they are getting caught, they're getting let out on bail. It's just I don't know. I loved hearing Pierre at all the rallies and talking about like, if you commit, these crimes, like you're not gonna leave prison except for in a pine box. And like, yeah,
you know what would be really helpful is they did like a mass media blitz. They could do a mass text for a Amber Alert and everything else. When I put a picture of this guy out on a mass text, like you got a mugshot here in this article, but
yep.
I mean, they didn't mention his immigration status, of course. They didn't mention, uh, what he does for a living, what he might be
Well, aside from
driving.
murdering people, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hobby, it sounds like, but it's I mean, why not just put a mass text out with this guy's picture saying, "Hey, here's a reward. Somebody give us information
Yeah.
to find this guy."
Well, yeah, there is a $50,000 reward for this guy. So like,
Yeah,
yeah, we have this emergency system that in Ontario at least got tested not that long ago. And as someone that does search and rescue, I also see those, and I have some massive issues with this whole system that gets used for some people and not others, and in a way that doesn't make any sense. But this is absolutely like if there's a Canada-wide warrant for the arrest of somebody, we have a system that can put this information out there to every cell phone on the network.
like, did they watch John Wick? I mean, this is a thing, right? You can put a picture out with a reward and just say, "Hey,
Yeah,
like, can we bring this guy in and get Dog and on his crew on a bounty hunt?" And
yeah, exactly. Like Lord knows that that guy needs some work, so he could come up here and like. I mean, I get
yeah,
it, it's only 50 grand Canadian, which is like what, like $20 American, but like
something
20
like that.
bucks
Yeah,
is 20 bucks, right?
that's right. I mean, I just there was they could do so much more with this if they really
Yeah.
wanted to track him down. But it's a pretty low T effort in general to try and get
Well,
this
you
guy
you know what
brought
they
in.
should do? They should just issue him a PAL and then they'd instantly know where he is.
Oh, that's true. 'Cause you have to apply for like a
Yeah.
temporary ATT to move his handguns around, right?
Yeah, he'd have to give them the address and all of these things. Like, I mean, he wouldn't
Purpose,
have to give a photo. He could just say that he's a Hutterite and they wouldn't need a photo, but they would still have his address.
and
So,
they know that he's gonna take a gun out to go do some murdering. So
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, just issue him a PAL, then everything will be fine. Um, I included this one because this is funny. Canada's news industry launches peer support program to boost journalists' mental health.
Well, we know they're crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to joke about mental health, but I am going to absolutely joke about mental health.
Well, okay, so there's been more than one article out there about how people that vote left of center tend to have a higher per capita mental health issue rate, should we put it that
Yeah.
way? Um, so what does that say about the media in general?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably
Well,
less
that and
informed.
like when, you are part of the problem that put out all of the propaganda during the COVID that caused all kinds of mental health problems. I don't want to say that I don't care about your mental health problems, but I don't care about your mental health problems so long as you don't go crazy and murder people and become Canada's new most wanted non-traditional Canadian. Like, fuck off. Although at least it's like, I guess, peer supported or something.
Hopefully it's peer funded because I don't want to fund this
Yeah,
myself.
no,
Like
I
it's
certainly don't.
like I zero sympathy for one, but also maybe do stuff that's ethically correct and morally correct, and then maybe you would have some internal demons to battle. I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if this was back like when we had actual like real journalism where like you would send people off to horrible places and they would see horrible things, yeah, those people like probably have some PTSD and need some help. But if you're like that Kuntzman guy, which is the most appropriate name for a shitty journalist ever, where you're like shooting an AR-15 at a range gave me PTSD. You're like, yeah, no, this guy, fuck this guy.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about as far as I want to go with that one. It's not worth the airtime or the bandwidth.
No, no, but I was just like, come on, like,
Yeah.
fuck off, you useless fucks. Another interesting one here. Israel warns of travel to Canada over growing threat from terrorist elements.
And I'm assuming they don't mean university professors.
No. I find it interesting that like there's not a whole lot here because we're kind of paywalled here, but just the fact that they would do this. A country that has like multiple bomb threats a day for various reasons is warning people not to come to Canada.
Now, I think it's almost like
Uh,
clickbait. So
yeah,
the way I see it is, okay, we've had the protests going on downtown Toronto for weeks that haven't been interrupted, unlike the trucker protests in Ottawa. Like they've just been allowed to continue doing their thing right down in Nathan Phillips there. I think it was right.
yeah,
It's right in front of City Hall there with the big Toronto sign. I've seen it. And the other thing too is the Walk for Israel or something just happened in Toronto, right?
yeah. And then they were letting all the other people protest or whatever at the same time, and like, I get it.
So I just don't think they're very good with oppositional protesting. Like they don't like to have their thunder stolen, I think, a lot of times. And I don't think this is actually a violent threat. It's like, yeah, it's a threat to their ethos or whatever, like or their
Yeah.
political beliefs, but I don't think
Wait,
it's a physical threat.
yeah, I certainly don't want to downplay it or say that the things that are happening are all right. Right? Like you should not be going to synagogues or other, places owned by Jewish people and like spray painting swastikas. Like you shouldn't be doing that. That is not acceptable behavior. You also shouldn't be going to anywhere and spray painting anything onto anything. But, so yes, they have a right to be upset about the things that are happening and the fact that like certain groups are being, well, it's celebrated or championed even in some instances over the things that they have done. Also not acceptable, but like I do find it somewhat funny because like by and large, like there's nothing. There were more violent protests at like the Sikh thing that happened like last year or whatever, where they all kind of like started punching each other than has happened, at least to the best of my knowledge, at any of these events in Toronto
Well, I
or
think they
anywhere
have.
else across the country. Like,
I think Israel has to realize that at this point they've gone far past the proportional response or appropriate
yeah,
response to the whole October 7th thing in Gaza. I think they've gone to the overkill mode, and they can't be surprised when not everybody's in favor of it. And
yeah,
so, like, I mean,
yeah. I just,
I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm just saying
yeah.
that don't be surprised when there's some opposition.
Yeah. I just
But
again find it funny though that like a country that has like multiple bomb threats a day
yeah,
and has like the Iron Dome and all of these things because like
and not just
they
threats,
are
but actual attacks. Yeah,
yeah, like quite literally like have like actual rocket attacks that happen maybe not daily but certainly monthly if not weekly, right? Like you live in a place where that is a thing that happens and like oh, well, yeah, some people are like protesting and not getting arrested when they're being kind of inappropriate or spray painting. Like I don't to the best of my knowledge, I don't think any actual violence has happened in Canada over any of this.
Well, I
If
think
there
there's even
is, then that might change slightly, but like, yeah, I just find it funny that like there's real actual danger and threats where these people are from and not here, and they're telling you not to come here. I just find that sort of funny.
yeah.
I'm wondering if like the other side is also like issuing travel things to say don't go to Canada because it's dangerous there.
Can't see it.
No, but I don't know. I just found it funny that like at places where there's actual like actual threats going on every day is saying like that'd be like anywhere in the Middle East basically saying that don't go to Canada, it's dangerous.
But again, that's actually a bit of a new thing for us to even be considered for that because I mean, up until recently, Canada was this haven of politeness and sorries, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely a changing landscape here for sure.
Yes, well, hopefully the landscape in Alberta continues to change for the better. Um, some air quotes here, extremely graphic sexual content found in books at a kindergarten to grade 9 school, the province said.
Yeah. So a couple things here. Right off the bat, these people are educators, and as you know, educators tend to lean on one side of the political spectrum. And for them to
Kind of like
find it,
reporters. Yeah.
yeah. So for them to find it extremely graphic and inappropriate, how bad did it have to be? Because
Yeah,
normally
I
they're all over that stuff, right? And
yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, it's just yeah, yeah, I imagine this is bad, but yeah, the school library material after dozens of books containing explicit sexual content was found in Calgary and Edmonton schools.
And again, Edmonton is notoriously left leaning, so wow, that's not a surprise, I guess, that they would be there. I mean, you probably wouldn't find it in rural Hutterite colonies in Alberta, and you probably wouldn't find it in, rural schools in Alberta, but Edmonton doesn't surprise me. Calgary does a bit.
Yeah,
But
it is kind of well, apparently that this has started being brought to the attention of these schools last November. So, you know, 6, 7 months for this to surface seems a little long. Um, but yes, apparently they have the Education and Childcare Minister of Alberta, Demetrios Nicolaides. I'm assuming he's Greek.
yep.
That maybe doesn't help because they have all kinds of wildly inappropriate pottery and pictures and did things with boys in their past, but it's fine. They seem to have moved away from that. Um, Apparently, he sat down with parents and they proceeded to show him files with multiple examples of what he would describe as being incredibly inappropriate passages. He was completely shocked and taken aback. And some had extremely inappropriate illustrations that depicted oral sex, molestation, and self-harm.
And 7 months later, they're still
Yeah,
still haven't quite tackled it yet. So, did he take that home
yes.
for personal study, or did he?
Well, I mean, for anyone that is interested in the personal study, the four graphic novels were named in a media release from the province. Genderqueer by Maya Kobabe, Fun Home by Allison Bechdel, Blankets by Craig Thompson, and Flamer by Mike Curato. So anyone that wants to do the research, because I'm not, because I don't need that on my search history, please feel free to do that to find out exactly what graphic images and or passages are in schools with kindergartners. If your kids go to school in Edmonton or Calgary or anywhere in Alberta, maybe be on the lookout for those books in your school library if they haven't already been moved. Um, Yes, apparently all four of these books depict coming of age stories with young protagonists discovering their gender or sexual identity. Someone needs to get the wood chipper out, and it's not just for the books.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't even know what to say at that point.
yeah, yeah. Although one thing that this Greek dude said is he wants to be clear right from the onset. This is not a question of banning specific books or specific titles, but rather establishing clear policies and guidelines for all school divisions to follow.
Hmm. I guess burning them would be too on the nose. So
Yes.
I guess
Although,
they'll just do a digital burning at the point because they'll just remove them from the online catalog or something.
yeah. Although, like, I don't know, it shouldn't be like read whatever you want to read if you're a consenting adult. Like, I don't care. But
There's a reason the Scuzzy Mags had covers on them in the 7-Eleven
yeah,
is that they should be limited on who gets to see that sort of stuff. And yeah, putting them within arm's reach of a kid, I don't think that's overly cool, especially when the parents weren't aware of it at the time.
well, exactly right. Like, it's I don't know, this is the biggest problem it seems to be with schools these days is like just the not letting the parents know what's going on and what's being taught and everything else. Like that's the most concerning part of all of this. Like if all of the parents are okay with it, like well, whatever, like screw the kids up, like if you don't care. But if your teachers, which as I said, educators tend to lean a certain way, are all guiding all of this stuff and not telling the parents, that's a big problem. Like, how did this book get in there to begin with? Like, it's not like the little libraries where, people were putting right-wing literature in there without the knowledge of the book library owner, right? Like,
That sounds like something a federal police force could investigate,
yes, absolutely, because this involves children and sexual exploitation potentially, or, all kinds of weird stuff.
or
So,
grooming, or anything else. Yeah, like
yeah,
I mean, that's almost sounds like a federal case in itself. But yeah, it's too bad
yeah.
they're busy with traffic tickets.
Right, like I imagine that if this is in a school library, there is a purchase order for this book somewhere or a
Signed,
donation
yeah, signed by somebody.
list, right?
Yeah,
If there's not, then yeah, maybe someone just snuck this book in there. But like, if it's a book that can actually be checked out of the school library where, you had that little pocket with the little card, if they even still do that, or everything is probably digital now. But like, if that's the case, then yeah, there is a name attached to this book somewhere.
yeah.
Start there. Like I'm not a cop, but if I had to start somewhere, it would be there. Like, why did you approve this? Or start with the librarian and go, even if some other person like at the Board of Education somewhere just ordered like 100 of these and sent one to every school, you're the librarian. You had to know like what came in because you put it on the shelf. Why didn't you just like put this straight in the garbage?
Or at least return to sender, get a credit
Or
back,
like
whatever.
hide it
Yeah.
in the back, be like, yeah, it's here, but like it's in the locked cabinet in my office so that no one sees this. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things here to question, and like I hope they get to the bottom of this. And like, yeah, you want to go buy these on your own time, by all means, go do that if you're an adult. You're a degenerate, but whatever, you're allowed to be. But this is not for kids. They don't need this.
No.
We didn't have any of this stuff when we were kids, and we turned out just fine. But yeah, kind of a black pill to end and the show on, but it always kind of is. Yeah, yeah. When we're not blackpilling people, where can people find you?
Well, geez, I wish I was on there more often, but normally Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern, Canadian Prepper Podcast. You can email me directly at theislandretreat@gmail.com, or find me on the X at Island Retreat BC.
Nice. Um, you can find me Instagram, UrbexGTA. You could also find me on Saturday up at Base Borden shooting service pistol with the ORA, and that is going to be fun. Um, I've also apparently been told that someone will be bringing a 454 casual to the range. I was told to bring a spare hand.
Mm. Or at least some sort of bandage for afterwards or something.
Yeah, I will need all of the ibuprofen. But yes, that should be fun. So, come out, support your local shooting sports. If you're into that stuff, a bunch of people on this podcast and other podcasts or that have been on the path, they're trying to get nationals to run. So if you want to come and shoot pistols or rifles, bolt actions, because that's all that we've got left at the national level, it's going to be happening this year in September at Baseboard. We'll be there. You can come drink with us in person. It'll be a good time, I promise. Um, but yeah, if you've listened this long, you deserve a discount. So head on over to ragnartactical.ca, use the code Patriot at checkout, save yourself a few dollars so that you can go and purchase some of these books to burn, um, so that no one else has to read them. We value your opinion, so please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Someone was asking about where is Andrew earlier. Please send us your funny conspiracy theory stories as to what you think has happened to Andrew, and we will read those on the air. It'll be funny. Um, Apologies to Rod Giltaca, not for anything, just apologies for this joke running on and on and on and
He's
on
he's
and
got
on.
he's got a lot on his plate right now too. So
Yeah, but we will keep making the joke. But apologies to Rod. We'd also like to remind you all that you are a small fringe minority with unacceptable